Today's episode is sponsored by Reloved, an online platform for UAE users to buy and sell their items easily. Welcome to Next of Kin, the podcast. I'm your host Emma, a British expat, toddler mum and business owner living in Dubai. Join me for candid conversations about expat motherhood, business and everything in between. I've invited some incredible guests to join me this season who you are really going to want to know about. So let's jump straight in. Today I'm going to be joined by the lovely Annie Stacey, mum to Barney, host of the People of Dubai podcast and founder of Reloved, which is also today's sponsor. I can't wait to hear about how Annie is finding motherhood here in Dubai, and I also imagine we'll be guessing about the juggle of entrepreneurship and motherhood. She's kindly mentioned to me that she's happy to speak about her postpartum mental health, which of course I want to cover because it's so important to speak about. So whether that's something that you're going through now or have been through, or perhaps you're interested in the mumpreneur life, I am sure you're going to find this very relatable today. First, a quick note from our sponsor, Reloved. We all know the importance of buying and selling secondhand, but until now, there hasn't been the perfect platform to make this easy. So along came Annie, and Reloved was born. Reloved is an online platform for users in the UAE to buy and sell their items easily. From furniture to clothes, baby items to designer handbags, Reloved has something for everyone. Hassle-free communication and online safe secured transactions makes it easier to shop secondhand. I love that they have streamlined delivery options for you because, let's be honest, it's the payments and the collection or delivery that puts me off buying pre-loved items, but Reloved have thought of everything. You've heard me harp on about it before, but I think that the majority of items that we procure for our newborns would be better off buying pre-loved. Baby items get used for such a short span of time that they have so much life left in them. I bought a cot and a bouncer pre-loved. The baby bouncer hadn't even been used by the family I bought it from, and my baby didn't want to be put down, so we didn't use it either. If I'd bought that full price, that would have stung, but I was able to sell it on again. No bother. So check out the relovedmarketplace.com, or you can find them at Reloved UAE on Instagram. I'll add the links in the show notes. Annie, welcome to the podcast today. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Yeah, all good.
Can we start off with you just introducing yourself quickly?
Yeah, so my name's Annie. I have been in Dubai for 11 years. I am the founder of Reloved, a mum of one. Really happy to be here and thank you for having me on.
Oh, no, thank you for coming on. So you are mum to, he must be nearly one, Barney. How old is he now?
Yeah, he is. So he's 11 months next week. Barney, had him last May. Got his first birthday party this weekend because I've got family in town and his end of May. So I just thought a garden party would be so hot that time of year. So let's hope the weather stays cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's been going crazy lately, the weather. It's not meant to be this hot yet, is it?
No, it's not. So praying that it all goes okay. Even a bit of cloud would be nice.
Yeah, definitely. Well, take me back to the start of your motherhood journey. Like, did you always want to be a mum? Was it easy for you? How was pregnancy?
That's a really good question because I actually never, and I feel awful saying it when people go through the, like, if they're really wanting to be a mum and they're having to go through, all the ups and downs and trying to conceive or whatever journey they've been on. And I am so, when I say this, I do, my heart goes out to anyone, but I never really thought, do I want kids? Do I not? I never really thought or longed of having a child. And my husband and I had been married for 2 years. And we just kind of thought, we want to have a baby, we think. So let's see what happens. And within 2 weeks I was pregnant.
Wow.
So I was so fortunate and so lucky. I had a really easy pregnancy. I didn't find out whether we were having it, we didn't find out the gender. And then we had him. I did an elective C-section. I think I'm so organised and I've got bit of ADHD where I just need everything quite meticulous. And I think when I didn't know the gender, I thought, if this is something I have control of, then that's that. So I got to pick his birthday, and I knew when I was going in. So yeah, pregnancy and conceiving was so easy for me. I was very lucky.
Yeah, so lucky. I mean, I'm similar because although I definitely knew I always wanted children, when we actually conceived, it wasn't, I guess, on purpose at that time. Like, we weren't trying.
Yeah.
So I know people go through so many struggles, but I mean, second time around, we might not find it that easy, right?
Absolutely. Now I've got Barney and I'm obsessed with him and I love him so much. I think the second pregnancy would be, I actually think, in a way harder, because you know what to expect and you already probably love this baby inside you maybe earlier than what I would have done, because it didn't feel real. Does that make sense?
Yeah, do you know what? It's kind of like I always say with the dads, there's that disconnect, but maybe you kind of felt that as well, like not feeling that connected from the start because you don't really know. I mean, I know that Rich, as soon as Bonnie was born, the moment she was born, was just so in love. But before that, he just really struggled to connect.
Yeah, that's really true. I actually think for men, they all go through, as well as women, we all go through such different roller coasters of emotions. And I definitely felt very disconnected from my pregnancy. And I think it was because it happened so quickly. And I think it took me ages to get my head around it. And we found out in end of September, beginning of October, and we were going home for Christmas. First grandchild on my side of the family. And I thought, you know what, if we can keep this a secret, let's just tell everyone at Christmas. So I was 17
Yeah.
weeks, and I did 17 weeks of not one single person apart from my husband knowing I was pregnant. And I don't know whether also that was like, I wasn't celebrating it. It was a strange one. And then when I had Barney, I got quite bad postnatal depression, and I wasn't expecting that to happen at all. I think I felt maybe a bit guilty that I'd had this amazing pregnancy. It happened straight away when we thought we would stop being careful with trying, and everything in my whole life I've worked for. I've always crafted for it, and this I just got handed it on a plate. And I don't know. Also with the cesarean, I didn't have to do anything. Like, you just lay there and you get given a beautiful. Obviously, I know you have to mentally, and it's painful with like the epidural and everything like that. But I just had this guilt, and I had this real disconnect, and I wondered if I had a vaginal natural birth and I pushed him out, or I'd gone through something, I don't know whether that would have changed my journey. I'm always really intrigued by it because, yeah, the postnatal depression really hit me and I was not expecting it. And I felt very numb and disconnected for a long time. And I just remember it was probably the first 6 weeks. You're tired, aren't you? You're kind of like a bit numb. Everything's exciting, but you're just in survival mode. And I just remember my husband would always change his nappy and like sing and talk to him and whatever. And I was changing his nappy in silence. And that's when I realized, I was like, I don't think something's right with me here. Like, I wasn't getting excited about anything. And it was such a weird time of my life, because I just think that should have been my happiest time. And I was really low. Did you suffer at all?
So I didn't, and I was probably the opposite because I kind of expected I might.
Yes.
And although my emotions were everywhere, I remember saying to the midwife, like, at what point do I stop crying? And she sort of looked at me like, okay, ding, 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 like in her brain. And I was like, because I just cry when I think about how cute she is and how much I love Rich and stuff like this.
Oh.
And she was like, oh no, that's fine. That's lovely.
She's like, you're a bit nuts.
Yeah, you're mental, but it will go down. So that's why I'm interested in knowing, like, what's the difference between those kind of crazy hormones at the start? Like, at what point did you realize that this isn't just hormones going crazy and making me feel different things? Like, this is something that I need to pay attention to and is potentially like depression. And
my mum and my brother said something to me. I'm always like laughing and I'm the fun one out of our family. That's what they've always said. Like, I'm always like that. I don't know. I never take life too seriously. And they just said to me, because I had Barney at the end of May, and then I went back to the UK in July, and I went back until September, so for 2 months, and I did probably about 3.5, 4 weeks without my husband. So I had a 6-week, 8-week-old baby, and I did a month without my husband. And I just remember them being like, "Are you okay? You're not fun at the moment. Like, you're just..." And my mum would call me in the morning and be like, "Hi, how are you?" And I would be in the UK, and I was like, "Mum, I've got to do this, this, this." And I was in survival mode. But she was like, "It's okay. Like,
Yeah.
don't worry about it." And I think I was getting myself in such a state when it came to things. And I actually was the same as you. I thought maybe I would get postnatal depression because I've always been quite in tune with my mental health. And I think as well, so answering your question, I think there were a couple of times where I actually said to my husband, "I don't want to be here. Like, I actually think it's easier for you to just not have me here," because I was getting so upset, and like I felt like I was just bringing the whole family and my parents and everything down. I just didn't feel like anyone needed me, and I just was, that's when I thought, okay, this is not okay. I need to speak to someone about this now, because it's the hormones. Yeah, you're 1 minute you're okay and 1 minute you're crying, but this is now, I don't want to be on this earth. And I never thought I was going to do anything, but I was scared that I was having a thought like that.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, and I think
Sad for me to even hear you say that out loud.
I actually am getting a bit emotional. I'm a bit like, oh, yeah, because you come out of it now and you're so proud of yourself for being able to talk about. I've always been quite open about it as well, because no one tells you the struggle after having a baby. Not even if you didn't have postnatal depression, but it's just that the whole pressure. You've got this demand on you all of a sudden, and I never appreciated the mental load of, now he's eating, and you've put your daughter's in nursery. You're thinking all the time, it's like, what's he eating next? What's he going to have here? Oh, is that toy going to be okay for him? Or is that now, is he getting bored of that? What does he need next? Okay, should I do pull-up nappies because he's always standing when I change his nappy now? Like, the mental load is crazy, and no one ever I didn't know about that at all.
Yeah, and I've tried to explain that to Rich as well, because it's different. I mean, I know we can't generalize all the dads, but I was trying to explain to him all these things I'm thinking about at the moment, thinking about schools for her.
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, that one sounds good. And I'm like, no, I've got to go and see like every school in Dubai and make my choice. But I mean, even in those newborn days, you're like monitoring the nappies, and is this the right color poo? Like, consistency is so much to think about.
I agree. I definitely agree. And I think my husband, I've always said to him, like, the mental load, and he's like, "Okay, well, what can I take from you?" And I'm like, "I don't want to pass it over. You should just have the thinking. Like, you should think like I do." So yeah, we've kind of come to this like agreement of like who manages what, because it's easier that way.
Yeah. And do you know what? There's also the other side of like the mourning your old life. And I feel like that kind of hit me around maybe 3-4 months postpartum, when you're out of that newborn haze and you're suddenly thinking, oh my goodness, I can't just easily go to the bathroom, or
Yeah.
like Rich could go off to the gym and just say, I'm going to the gym. Like, I can't do that. I've got a baby to look after. So did you feel that as well?
Yes, I did. And I think this is actually when I'm like analysing my postnatal depression, and like how I think I'm someone that goes to the gym. I go for walks. I don't spend all the time at my house. Like, I've never been someone that sits at home all day. And I actually think all of those pieces contributed to my mental health after having a kid or having Barney, because I can't go to the gym because I'd had a cesarean, so I couldn't do that for 6 weeks. It's 45 degrees outside and I have a newborn child, so I'm not really going to be able to go for a walk easily. And I'm sitting in my house all day because there's nothing for me to do, because I don't want to be walking around the mall every day. But I also equally didn't want to just be sat at home. So I definitely found that was difficult. And my husband had a month off with me at the beginning, so we were both kind of in that together. And I would walk the dog, and I probably went against the doctor's advice. I was probably being a lot more physical than I was meant to be, but I had to, because I was like, I want to go for a walk with the dog and leave the baby at home with Dan, my husband. And he went back to work, and then I got the all clear for being able to go back to the gym. And then I went back to the UK because I'd flown. So then I couldn't gym because I had no one else. I was single parenting because he was, my husband was still in Dubai. And I just remember like walking and whatever, but you'd always have the baby with you, which was amazing. But I just kind of, and I remember there was this light bulb moment when my husband said, do you know, Annie, I just would love to just have some time to myself. And I was like, time to yourself? You go to work, that's time to yourself. You choose to go to the gym, that's time to yourself. Like, that is your time now, unfortunately. And I just remember, and then he must have looked at me like I was a psycho. He's like, no, I just want to be able to sit in my house for like half an hour. And I was like, but that's when I can then go to the gym, or that's my time, or change your gym time and go and sit in a cafe somewhere by yourself. I was like, yeah, there's not any time by yourself anymore. And I think I actually went back to work after my maternity. So I've got a full-time job as well as my side business of Reloved. And when I went back to work, I was dreading it, but I've never enjoyed something so much. I think it's having that routine and actually putting yourself back into something you were doing before you were having your baby. So yeah, it's kind of feeling that normality again when you were mourning your old life, and then you get a piece of your old life and you're like, oh, I quite like this.
Do you know what? That's so nice to hear as well, because I obviously was kind of I was the different end of the spectrum. It didn't work out for me going back to work. So it's so nice to hear that as well, as a different perspective, that actually like that was part of you getting your pink back and getting back
Absolutely.
to who you are, and actually your time for yourself.
So you didn't go, so you went back, or you couldn't go back?
Yeah, so I went back when she was about 4 months old, and I think I lasted 6 weeks. But Bonnie was like an extra clingy baby. She was being brought to me every like hour and a half to breastfeed because we just couldn't get her to take a bottle, and it was just mental. Like, it was insane. And they wanted me to travel. I should have been traveling like every couple of weeks. And in the end, I was in front of HR with them saying like, why are you not on a plane to Milan right now? And I had to choose basically Bonnie, or I just could not have left her at that stage. She couldn't even sleep without me. She was very attached to her mummy.
Yeah.
I mean, she's 2.5. It's still pretty much like that without the breastfeeding.
I think as well, it depends what company you work for, doesn't it? I work for, well, I'm in HR, so I never appreciated it. Like, we had all these new parent buddy schemes. We had like this maternity package, which was really generous. And now, like, I actually, when Sabani's just nearly 11 months, I went back to work when he was just turning 10 months, but I've gone back part-time for a couple of months to ease myself into it. And that's helped me, my baby and my nanny, like, so much, because we're easing into it. And I've also at 10 months, I was thinking, I'm looking forward to kind of going back now. At 4 months, I didn't even know what day it was.
No. And that was me, because I did think when she hit 1 year, I was like, actually, if I was to have had this experience again and tried to go back to work now, it would have probably been so different.
Absolutely.
But at the time, because the mat leave here is 45 or 60 days or whatever it is, they were very like, well, you've had 4 months. Like, how could you need any more? Like, you've had all this time off.
I just don't understand it. We're not even, I think, isn't it like chemically, we're not even back to our pre-pregnancy self for 2 years. So 4 months is just, it just blows my mind. And hats off to everyone, and hats off to you for trying it, because I wasn't mentally or physically in the right state, and you just want more time. I think actually though, I found now he's older and he was used to me all the time being around. Maybe it's been harder because he's used, it's maybe been more harder for him because he's been used to me, and now he understands a bit more. Whereas if it was at 4 months, 5 months, and I left him, maybe the separation piece would have been easier. I don't know, but I think that depends on the baby, doesn't it?
Yeah, very true. Let's go backwards a bit, because we were talking about the postpartum depression, but we haven't spoken about how you got help and how that lifted and where you're at now.
Yeah, thank you. So I spoke to a couple of incredible midwives, and I got a therapist, and we kind of addressed everything. And I think I needed therapy before pregnancy. I think I needed therapy a long time ago.
We all do.
I think anyone listening that hasn't got a therapist and you don't think you need it, yeah, you do. And I'm sure you'll be crying on your first session. And I am in such a good place now. I think it was probably when he got to 7 months, I think that the cloud just started lifting. And I'd started therapy for a couple of weeks. And into that, that's when it did take me about 6-7 months to get help, I suppose. And I think we found Barney at a better and easier stage. Me and my husband were, because my mental health wasn't doing very well, I think that impacted my husband and I's relationship. And yeah, I think we kind of came back from our UK trip at Christmas. We'd had COVID. It'd been the most stressful thing. You're trying to live your old life planning and doing everything. It was so busy. And we actually came back, felt energized, and we were like, wow, we're in such a good place. So yeah, therapy really helped me, and actually just speaking to people about, not like professionals, but just actually just telling your friends and explaining it to people. And my husband was incredible, or is incredible, because he's always been so supportive, and he would always say to me, like, if you're about to have one of those really down moments, like, let's try and address it before that happens. And I think, so I'm in a really good place now. I do think there is every now and then I do have maybe a down day, but I appreciate and I kind of understand it now, and I know that I've got such a support network, and Barney needs me, and the house wouldn't run without me now. So I feel like that thought of no one needs me and I don't actually need to be on this earth has completely changed, and I do need to be here, and I want to be here. So that's what's different. Anyone else going through it needs to definitely speak to someone. And maybe I thought I was going to have one therapy session and be okay, and it's just been a compound effect of exercising, trying to be outside in nature, and therapy is just, but it doesn't, for me, it didn't just happen overnight. It was all of a sudden, I just felt better. And I think it was a mixture of it all.
Yeah. And that's interesting to say. You can't just expect therapy to work in isolation. Like, you were putting the work in and making sure you're doing those things that benefit your mental health. You have been through so much in the last year, or even since getting pregnant. How on earth do you start a business and also have a full-time job in that time?
I know, it's so silly of me. I think the business was never meant to happen at the time it happened. I was meant to launch 2 years ago, but I got scammed by app developers. So they took all my money and they took my coding. So I was so passionate about a platform in the UAE that, we can buy and sell all our items on. And I just, after being scammed, I thought, I'm still going to continue with this. It's not going to be the most amazing product that I'm going to launch, but it's going to be, usable. It'll be user friendly, and it's going to be okay. And I actually found out that I got scammed, I think 4 weeks after having Barney. My mum was in town, and my husband, we were all having dinner. And I thought, I'm just going to get someone's opinion and, have a conversation with them. And my mum and my husband were in the living room, and I was just sat there with my headphones in, and I came off the call and I was like, it's fine. I've lost everything, but it's okay. And then I was 2 minutes later, I was like, it's not okay. And I was just an absolute mess. And I was like, it's the hormones. So my mum was like, no, I don't think it's just the hormones. You've just lost all your savings and everything. And you're just it's, and straight away, I just thought, do you know what? I'm still going to continue. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to find someone else to help me. We're not going to go through an app. We're just going to have a platform, a website. And if it works, and if we see that people need it, then I can do an app later down the line. So I literally got on LinkedIn, paid for the professional membership. And I thought, I'm going to find a developer. And I think 2 days later, I'd interviewed 10 developers. And I found this one developer that I loved. And he was like, right, let's try and get this on the road by September. So I spent the summer, whilst I was solo parenting in the UK, building a platform. And it launched. So it was all meant to launch before the baby was here. And in a way, now I look back, I'm glad it happened the way it did. And I'm happier with the product, I suppose, that I have now on the market. But yes, I think if anyone thinks that they can launch a business and have a baby, it is extremely difficult. And before we got on the podcast, weren't we, Emma? We were saying that being a full-time mum and having a business, you're in your mind, you're always sitting there thinking, I need to do this, but I also need to be a mum. And that has been difficult.
Yeah, I remember speaking to you at Christmas time as well, and you said, like, how do you juggle it all? And I was just like, I really don't at the moment. Like, I don't have the right childcare in place, and I've just had to be kind to myself. And like you said about maybe you not launching with the app in the way that you wanted to launch, there's something about just getting started and putting something out there. And sometimes, like, I definitely cringe a bit, especially at like early podcast episodes that weren't perfect, but you just have to do something and start putting yourself out there and launch with things that are imperfect, or do your social media posts that are just done but not perfect.
Absolutely. We've all got to start somewhere, haven't we?
Yeah.
And we learn as well as we go on. We think, okay, that didn't work, or let's do it differently next time. And yeah, I completely agree. But I think it is definitely such a juggle, and I don't know how you do it, especially now because I hired a nanny in the end. But I did, 5 months or 6 months without that. And it's very intense because you think, I'll do this in the evening, and then you don't have quality time with your husband, or I'll do it at the weekend, and you're juggling. And I think as well, that's what you were saying about being kind to yourself is amazing, because there are months where I think, or not months, there'll be weeks where I'm like, I've really wanted to achieve this and I haven't. And I would have really used to beat myself up about it. And I just think now it's okay. No one else knows that you were going to do that. It's just an internal goal that you had. And my therapist said to me, sometimes let things happen organically rather than putting so much pressure on yourself. And in March, I was really burnt out. There was a lot that happened with my nanny. And I went back to the UK, and I thought, I'm just going to take 3 weeks, not focus on the business. Obviously, you're focusing on the business because you're doing things every day. But I thought, I'm just going to do the needful. And then I'm going to come back in April. I'm going back to work, and I'm going to have 2 days off a week. Half of them, both of those 2 days off a week, are going to be being a mum. The other half is going to be absolutely just smashing my goals and going for it. And I have had the best months since I've launched. And I think it's because I've listened, like you were saying, be kind to yourself, listen to yourself and think, what do I need? Rather than being like, what does everyone else need?
Yeah. I love that. I love that you're like actually getting to a point where you're letting things happen as well. And there's like that snowball effect. So you just sometimes need to give it that little push, and then people start knowing more about the business. What have been your biggest wins so far with the business? Because when did you launch? September?
November. So we're month 5,
okay.
I think. I actually wrote like a manifestation list of 2025. And one of them was to go on Dubai Eye, and I managed to get on Dubai Eye within a week. And for me, that was like such a big achievement. I also think the biggest win is launching.
Yeah.
I've done a couple of events, so, I've been happy with that, and I've learned from those. Having customers, I think is like, wow, I've got customers, people are actually going on my website.
Yeah.
So I've had quite a few wins, and you celebrate them yourself, don't you? You think, oh, that was really nice, or I'm really happy with how that went. But I think my biggest win is every single day apart from Christmas Day, I've either had someone new sign up or someone new sell something on the website. So for me, that's been like a real key measurement of how it's gone.
That's really good. Do you know what, from my side as well, I went to have a look at some new clothes on Reloved for Bonnie. And so I put in her age and everything, filtered it, and it came up with next of kin, like 2 next of kin dresses.
I saw there was a next of kin on there.
And I literally screenshotted it, and I was like, why do I feel emotional that people are like using my clothes and able to pass them on? Like, this is exactly like from my side. Like, it's so nice as a business owner. So
yeah, seeing it on another platform.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well done. What's been your biggest wins?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I wasn't expecting that question. I think
Sorry.
where where I put myself out there, because when I started the podcast, I wouldn't even put my face on it. I didn't want my face on social media. And now I think people are sick of my face because I literally will happily just be like, no makeup, talking rubbish on social media. But I've done things, I guess it probably, a lot of it is to do with the podcast, or when I meet someone and they know me and they've shopped from next of kin, it's like those little moments. So instead of one big win, I think it's those little moments where it's like self-development for me and not being shy and like putting myself out there. What about on the other side?
Yeah, I was going to say with the other side of the like, because I think when you have amazing wins, you also have really bad days.
Yeah.
I think seeing competitors is a hard one for me when you see people with similar ideas launch as well, because you think, I was meant to do this a couple of years ago, and if I had, then maybe there wouldn't have been as many competitors. So that's always a hard one. I think I don't have a tech background, so that's been difficult because you're relying on people all the time to help you and give you advice, whereas something that you have experience in, you're confident in as well, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know about you, but I was kind of cocky going into starting my business and just thinking that I'd be amazing. And people tell you that you launch, and then often you have this bit of a sort of slump where you are second guessing everything. And I'm probably in that at the moment just because how expensive my trade license is. So I feel like I'm working to pay a trade license. But I definitely thought I wouldn't have that. I wouldn't have hard days. Like I was just focused on the goal and then everything was going to go to plan. But no, you definitely are going to have hard days as a business owner and be questioning yourself.
Absolutely. And it's lonely.
Yeah, it is.
It's like you have no one to. I've got a bit of, I have a bit of a team that I work with, but you still are the decision maker and you're still the one that's got to be motivated all the time and driven. And some days you just don't feel motivated and driven. And then I always feel like when you have a good day or you have a good win, you've got to bounce off that and you've got to use that momentum to drive further. That's what I always think. And then when you have a bad day or you have a low day, I sometimes think as well, like, just down tools and just go and give yourself a bit of a break.
Yeah. And you know what? It's harder when you're a mum as well, because you don't necessarily know when those harder days are going to be. So you're trying to plan out a schedule. You've got such limited time. But like I said today, Bonnie woke up at 3 a.m. I can't plan for that. Or I might get a call from nursery that you need to go and pick her up. And you think that today is going to be your day, that you're going to get so much done. But actually, it's not just how you feel, it's your little person as well.
Absolutely. And you think, I used to get frustrated with that. And now I just think it is what it is. I can't get frustrated.
I try and time block out my week, but I know that every day I'm going to move those blocks about. So if I put in like creating content for an hour on a Tuesday, but I am just not in that headspace, I've been wrangling with a toddler, I do not want to suddenly be all bubbly, I will happily just move everything around.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So how has your perspective changed on buying secondhand since becoming a mum? Because we get a lot of stuff as a mum, don't we?
Yeah, so I actually went into it being like buying like the nursery things. I remember people being so generous, and I had a couple of friends that were mums before me and they were like, just take this. And I was going, I can't take that. Let me give you money. And they were like, yeah, but just not. And I gave my friend some money for quite, like, I didn't feel like it was much money, but she was really happy with it. And she said, oh, that's just paid for like a terms of swimming lessons, or that's, gone towards this for her. So I thought, actually, there is a lot of, if I'm getting this quality just from friends, I must be able to get a couple of other nice items. So clothes, especially newborn clothes, and I hadn't ever had a baby. I was like, I want to go to the shop. I want to be able to pick out some nice items that I think that's my baby, and I pick that for them. So I think clothes, I definitely went more new or kind of hand-me-downs from friends. But I am such an advocate, and I had been already when it comes to secondhand baby stuff. I got a secondhand bed. I got a cot. I got a secondhand car seat. And I just made sure that I changed the mattress, or washed it, and made sure that the car seat hadn't been in any accidents, got that professionally cleaned. Everything's like brand new. And you don't even, even now when I've finished with it, it is literally brand new. And I think, why would people pay full price for this when it's literally so like it's perfect condition? I think as well, like play mats, and my house just smelled amazing because everything had just been washed. And you're going to wash new things anyway, aren't you?
Yeah. And I don't know about Barney's temperament, but I love shopping. Like I literally have a retail degree. I was a fashion buyer. I love to shop. So when I was pregnant, I was like, oh my God, this is my time. I'm going to get all the gadgets. I want to be the mum with this carrier, this like baby Bjorn bouncer. And then she came and she didn't like half the stuff, or we didn't use half the stuff.
Yeah.
The bouncer we didn't use, the cot we didn't use. And if I had bought that firsthand, then I wouldn't be very happy with myself. But actually, I was selling things for what I'd bought them secondhand anyway, and they were still pretty much brand new.
Absolutely. And I always say to people that are pregnant, please don't buy it all brand new. You don't need to. It's not even the whole, I want you to use my website. It's literally, you don't need to, because they might not like it. I had hundreds and hundreds of dirhams worth of, what's it called where you wrap your baby? I can't even think what it's called now.
The swaddles.
Swaddles, like all these different swaddles that I thought, I need that. I'll buy that one. I'll get that one. And then they don't like any of it, and they're in sleeping bags that I bought from Next and stuff, So there's so many trial and errors, isn't there? And I'm selling so much stuff at the moment that I'm basically giving away because you don't need it in your house anymore. And it's I'm selling it for a couple of hundred dirhams, and it's going to someone else that would have paid a couple of, another 1,000 dirhams on top of what I'm selling it for. But you want it to go to you, and you want someone else to kind of go through that experience you had with the item. You get a bit attached.
Yeah, definitely. So what's next for Reloved? What have you got in the pipeline?
I want to hopefully bring an app to the market. We want to expand potentially to different jurisdictions, but that will be in a couple of years' time. And we're going to be doing some more events. So at the moment, coming, and Emma's actually attending, aren't you?
I'm so excited.
Night. Yeah, so I think definitely some more community events. We've got a ladies' night coming up where you can bring items and swap, and you basically come home with a new outfit, so you're swapping. And just obviously progressing, making the platform better and easier, and just developing that, and hopefully just expanding. And I think this period for me is just a lot about developing myself, learning, and hopefully, trying to hear from customers what they want, and me to be able to build the pipeline of what other people need and want rather than what I just think. So it's going to be a bit of both. So it's an exciting time, and I'm in a really good headspace, and I think that's how we're going to grow, and it's going to develop well.
I love that. Let's end on a bit of a tip then for any mums who want to start a business. Where should they start?
Absolutely. I think you need to be okay. Like, you need to mentally be in a good headspace as well at the beginning before you even think about it, because you need to prioritize yourself. No businesses are going to be successful if you're not okay. So I think, first of all, make sure you're okay. Make sure the family unit's fine. And I think if you've got an idea and you, I think make it just kind of doing some market research, ensuring that your product, what's going to be your unique selling point? Why do people want to come to you? And enjoy the process. Definitely do it. Don't debate it and think, I could do that, because you're always going to regret not doing it rather than actually kicking the ground running. So I support a lot of, women in business, men in business, small businesses, anything. And I think the UAE is definitely an amazing place to do that. So if you're listening, do it, and good luck.
Absolutely. Annie, thank you so much. This was such a good chat. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I feel like I've had therapy, Emma. It's been amazing. I feel so good.
Do I. How amazing is Annie? I absolutely loved chatting to her today. And I feel so lucky that she opened up and just said things that I think are going to resonate with so many people, especially about mental health, but also just the juggle of it all. I can't believe she has a full-time job and is doing all of this. I'm so in awe of Reloved as a business as it is. So thank you again to Annie, and thank you to Reloved for sponsoring this chat today. You can find them at therelovedmarketplace.com or at Reloved UAE on Instagram. And of course, give us a follow. Make sure you're following on your favourite podcast provider, whether that's Apple or Spotify, wherever you're listening to this podcast. It really helps me if you actually press that follow button. And do follow us along on Instagram as well. It's at nextofkin.ae or my personal at emmacoulter.insta on Instagram. Till next time, take care.